What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Destroy coming at you with this Wednesday video. The last day of NHL until the All-Star break, and then we're going to have a couple All-Star break games that DraftKings did respond to today. So, for the last day, for about good 5-6 days, we got a 2-game slate. What's nice about this one compared to yesterday? Yesterday was a lot of very, I think, close games as far as looking at it from a DFS aspect. Teams were very competitive in the matchups. Um, some huge names went down, didn't do anything. Some underrated names did exactly what they were supposed to do. And then if you were like me and I make my lineups about 30 minutes before lock, that's when I fully get them in. Panarin was announced out 20 minutes before game start. Granted, that was my mistake for not looking at it, but I'm with NHL. I've been pretty confident of looking at people and seeing that they're gonna play the game, especially with no injury news or anything leading up. There was the day before. But there was no news leading up to the day until 20 minutes. So, yeah, that kind of ruined me and everything yesterday. But we have a new day today. So, let's just take a look at it. We have Winnipeg against Columbus, which I think is the closer game today. And Detroit and Minnesota. And Minnesota is a very high favorite today. And being so, as Detroit is on a back-to-back, so is Minnesota, but Detroit has Jimmy Howard as goalie. There's only two goalies that I'm really seeing that I would play today. Columbus's did get announced. It's going to be ELVIS again. And even though Winnipeg lit him up for 4 goals last time, he was on the road, and you could see statistically he plays worse on the road. Granted, he's played 6 more games. But for the 7 games or 5 games started, he's only allowed 6 goals at home. Faced 193 shot attempts, and that comes down to almost 40 shots a game. You consider the 2 games he came in later, then it takes some numbers out. But yeah, definitely seeing a lot of shots. And Winnipeg is a team that takes a decent amount of shots, average-wise, but in the higher average. And Columbus has been playing really decent lately. I mean, you look at his numbers alone, and he's got 3 out of the last 4 games he's played in shutouts, which is crazy to think about. But even the numbers, he hasn't allowed more than 3 goals in a very long time. So his numbers are up there. Look at his fantasy points. 7 is the lowest. Granted, he could have a game where Winnipeg lights him up again. And then the other one is DEVAN, which he's playing Detroit. Yet to play Detroit. Look at his numbers, and they're not too impressive. He's going to be at home, and you can see his home numbers are just a little bit better than on the road. 287 goals against average. But at the same time, this is Detroit we're talking about. One of the worst teams in hockey. But Detroit does have some players capable of putting some points on the board. Like, we can go and we can look at LARKIN, who's, if you're going to play Detroit player, he's the player to play. They've scored at least 1 goal. Like, they've yet to get shut out in a long time, which is a bit worrisome if you're paying $8,400 for the goalie here today. In DEVAN. Like, ELVIS is probably becoming my favorite goalie here. Like, even if this happens again and he allows 4 goals, you're paying $300 less, which isn't a whole lot. But if DEVAN does get lit up for at least 2-3 goals, Detroit doesn't take a huge amount of shots either at that. So the saves aren't going to come as much as they will for ELVIS, who is going to see a lot more shots. And then LAURENT, BROSSOIT, I mean, is another player or another goalie that's going to see shots. It's just I don't trust him saving them. He did play Columbus earlier this year, allowed 3 goals in that game. Got you 8.4. So if you want to pay down for a goalie, like if you want to target, if you have a lot of confidence basically in Winnipeg forwards, those are the only forwards that you're going to be paying up for today. Patrick Laney, Kyle Connor, Wheeler, and Sheffield, who, I mean, their forwards have been playing pretty good as far as getting shot attempts and stuff like that. But you have to consider that they're going to be playing one of the hottest goalies right now. And if you're willing to take that risk, then go for it. Jimmy Howard, I wouldn't suggest ever playing. Granted, the other night he had the last 3 nights actually 13.5, allowing 5 goals in a game, still got you 13.5, which is impressive, impressive. Florida 3 goals, 13.3, and only allowed 2 goals to Pittsburgh, got you 22.5. I believe that game ended in overtime. That's why too. So basically, well, let's put Elvis in. Defenders, to me, it's either you go Columbus or Minnesota here. Radnewski is obviously the most expensive. A lot of people are really high on him today. He gets those shots. Columbus should get a decent amount of goals here. Seth Jones, for his price tag, I mean, he really does what he needs to do. I think I have to have him. One of the league leaders in assists with 22. Gets a decent amount of shots here and there. I can't expect him to ever get the 5 shots on goal bonus, but what you can expect him to get is the 3 block shots. His block shots, I mean, he's one of the league leaders in blocked shots. And like I said, with Winnipeg taking a decent amount of shots, he's bound to get some block shots in there. Spurgeon and SUTER, both, they've been playing really good, playing against the Detroit team. SUTER, 10 points in the last 10 games, 29 shots, almost 30 shots a game, and then a block shot per game. Also, if you look, his power play goals and assists, he's got 6. 6 in the last 10 games, which is really impressive, playing a Detroit team who is not somebody you expect to really kill this Minnesota power play, and Minnesota power play has been one of the best over the last 10 games. Spurgeon's there too. 3 power play points in the last 10 games, 5 points. He's somebody that I probably would play around this. I would play Sutter and Jones. If you want to go expensive and go to Wisniewski, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want to go to Matt Dumba, I'm not too high on Matt Dumba though. Same thing though. 30 shots, so 3 shots a game, and a block shot and a half per game too. But you are playing Detroit, which if you're depending on him to get that 3 block shot bonus, it's going to be very tricky to get. But he does take a lot of shots, and he is on the power play unit, which gives some extra value there. Going down the list for other defenders, I would play Neil Pontiac, but if you're going like I am and you see Elvis there and how good he's playing, you're not going to want to stack Winnipeg. Detroit, you're not going to want to stack either. So basically, it's going to turn into a Columbus, Minnesota. Morrissey here gets power play time. Gets a decent amount of shots, 2.2 in the last 10 games, 9 block shots, almost 1. But someone that's on the power play unit, it just gives value there. Brodin, another player that I would target, had a decent game the other night. The other night at Dallas, he had 1 assist, 1 shot on goal, 2 block shots, 3,300. He got you 9.1 fantasy points, which is a decent thing to get to save you value there. David Savard is another player. He's only got 1 point in the last 10 games. Takes a shot and a third per game. 22 block shots. Not anything spectacular to play. But when you're playing Winnipeg, like I said, a team that gets that shoots a lot, he's there for the block shots, and you're only paying $3,600 for him. There's not a whole lot of players else that I would target, and defenders, that would be about it. So let's just plug it in really quick and put my 2 favorite, Sutter and Jones. Let's go look at some wingers here. Obviously, like I said, the Winnipeg forwards, if you want to pay up and have a couple players that are at very value today, then you can go the Winnipeg players, but you have to have a lot of hope that they are going to do what they did last time against ELVIS here and get those 4 goals and hope they're the ones scoring, because if not, you're paying a lot for players that aren't going to do anything. And you look at the wingers too, and they're the top 3 most expensive wingers. Bertuzzi comes in after that, and you don't like him. So Zach Parise is basically the first winger that pops up $5,800, and that's a crazy price for basically the first winger, and we're going to put him in because they are playing a terrible Detroit team. I will never know how to pronounce this guy's last name. Bjorkstrand is how I'm going to try to pronounce it. You have to play him. There's no way around it. You have to play him. 10 points in the last 10 games, 48 shots, almost 5 shots a game. He just came back from the injury. And look what he did when he came back. 6 shots on goal, 2 goals, and 29 fantasy points. They were playing a Winnipeg team, and like I said, they should win the game that he did play. He had 2 assists, 4 shots on goal. He's immediately an easy lock into the lineup here. Ooh, all right, phone call. Sorry about that. Right after him is Cam Atkinson, and Cam Atkinson is probably another one of my favorites here. Gets a lot of shots on goal up there. He's on the power play unit, makes value. Look at the game against Winnipeg: 1 assist, 4 shots. Basically the same thing as Bjorkstrand. If you want to get a little bit of value, there's obviously some players here. The bottom Minnesota lines have been playing really good. Detroit's bottom lines have been playing really bad. But Luke Kunin's line is probably one of my favorites. They've been playing really, really good lately of getting shots, getting opportunities. They don't play a whole lot of time, so they have to make use of what value they have. I wouldn't really play them in cash, but they're definitely a tournament play. Kunin, Fiala, Columbus's bottom line, or one of the bottom lines. Foligno's line is actually a line that I'm perfectly fine with playing too. Nick only had an assist. That was literally his only stat, but his last 2 out of 3 games, he's gotten over 10 plus points. Last 10 games, he's gotten 5, which is something you like. Like I said, I wouldn't go too invested into it. Foligno down there, 3,400. Just looking down, I don't think there's anyone else lower than that I would play. So the other winger will go. We'll just put Atkinson in there. Really like him. We'll go to our centers now. Look at the centers. If you're going to play a Detroit player, you have to play Dylan Larkin. He's the only one that really is just going to, if you're looking for somebody that's going to get you a lot of points, he's the only one on Detroit that is going to be consistent enough to do that. You can see he's only gotten 1 game, which was the Pittsburgh game, which he hasn't got a point in for his last 10 games. He's been getting the points. He takes a decent amount of shots, hasn't got that shot bonus in a while. But he did get 3 out of the 3 points possible against Colorado. So if you're going to play a Detroit player, he's the one to target there. Eric Stahl, I'm not too high on. I could just see him for assists there. That's about it. Wheeler and Sheffield, 2 out of the top 4 most expensive centers right there. So it's very hard to target Winnipeg, those top 2 Winnipeg lines, just because they're all above 6K for the most part, except for Sheffield there. So if you're going to go cheaper on a goalie, then yes, you can go Winnipeg, and there's a couple cheaper options at defender than what I have in order to target those players efficiently. I think the 2 centers that also just go out to me is if you're targeting Columbus, if you're targeting Bjorkstrand, Atkinson, I got Seth Jones in there, is there 2 centers. So Dubois and Jenner both there. Dubois is probably up there more than Jenner. But yeah, either one is a good option for me. Eriksson Ek, like I said, that Minnesota one of the bottom lines there has been playing really good lately. And he's the center for it, so he's a value play too. Gotten 4 points in the last 4 games, which is impressive. Not going to get you a lot of shots, not going to get a lot of block shots, but there's a potential for a a goal and maybe an assist. More than likely assist more than a goal there for him, but still a really good value play. Koivu down there as well, potential for some value. Other than that, I wouldn't go lower than that. So for me, I'm going to put boys in. I'm going to put Ek in, and we have 5,500 for one player left. You look at some of the names, and I'm honestly just going to put SPURGEON in just from looking at that, and boom, we hit perfect value, and that's a team that I would honestly play. So hope this helped you out, guys. It's a 2-game slate, nothing to go too invested into right before the All-Star break, so it could be a change of pace for some of these teams like Detroit. Hasn't played the greatest, but they've hung in there. Like I said, they haven't got it shut out in the last 10 games, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for all the support on my NHL content that I've made. I've been working really hard to learn a new DFS sport. I do like hockey outside of DFS, so that's why I got into it and hoping to continue. 4 out of 6 on cash games so far, so hoping before the All-Star break we can get another win. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.